What you get when you put 3 failed politicians in a factory in Essex? Well, you get a pretty boring press conference and a show of disdain for democracy. So off the back of the MI5 chief, Andrew Parker, telling us that we need to work with the European Union in order to stop terrorism, we've now got 3 political has-beens standing up on a stage in a rice factory or warehouse in Essex, telling us that Brexit must be stopped. So David Miliband is one of them. He's back on the scene, really. David Miliband, it's been a while, hasn't it? So David Miliband got up on stage at the Tilda factory in Essex, and he was with basically some of the biggest Remainers in British politics. He was with former Lib Dem leader Nick Clegg, and he was also with Nicky Morgan. Now, these are not heavyweights in British politics by any stretch. And the fact that they all stand up there with their podiums looking serious in a rice factory in Essex trying to be normal is just laughable. David Miliband, he lost to his weedy little brother in the Labour leadership election. I mean, he lost to Ed Miliband. Imagine losing to Ed Miliband. Who loses to Ed Miliband? Nicky Morgan, she was sacked by Theresa May, and, well, Nick Clegg was sacked by the public.
O'Mara, Labour Party, 21,881.
So, what authority do these people think they have when it comes to Brexit? But before I get into what exactly happened here, let's think about David Miliband. Now, he resigned in 2013 after he lost to his brother, and he went off to work with the International Rescue Committee in New York City. He got a lovely new job in the United States. He swannied off over to America and got a salary of £300,000 a year. So this is not a man who, well, knows what it's like living in modern Britain as a normal working person, but still thinks he's got the authority to come back after 5 years and tell us all what to do. Now, he sat down or stood up at podiums with Nick Clegg and Nicky Morgan in a factory in Essex trying to look normal. It was a cross-party panel, and they were there to tell the UK to stay in the European Economic Area. They want to backtrack on Brexit. They want to kind of push Theresa May to change direction. And we all know that Theresa's pretty shaky at the moment. We know the Brexit deal is, I mean, it's unsure. We don't know what the hell's happening. So these guys want to get in on the action and push this soft Brexit idea. By the way, soft Brexit, when did soft Brexit happen? Who came up with soft Brexit? I don't ever remember seeing soft Brexit on the ballot paper, do you? So the article here in the BBC is entitled UK Needs Brexit Safe Harbour, according to David Miliband. Thanks for your input, mate. David Miliband has urged the UK to seek a safe harbour after Brexit by staying in the European Economic Area. The ex-Labour Foreign Secretary said Jeremy Corbyn, who has ruled out the so-called Norway model, risked becoming the midwife of a hard Brexit. Ministers say EEA membership would require the UK to accept most EU rules as well as freedom of movement, which is true. I mean, if we stay in the European Economic Area, which, by the way, just seems like we're reversing time a little bit. You know, it's like going back to the whole European Economic Community, which preceded the EU. But if we stay in the European Economic Area, we are going to have freedom of movement. If we do what Nick Clegg and Nicky Morgan and David Miliband are telling us to do, we are still in the European Union. But here's the thing. We'll have an even worse deal than last time. Last time we had members of European Parliament, and I think I've actually explained this before in a previous video. At least we used to have members of European Parliament. They couldn't actually propose legislation, but they could rubber stamp them like monkeys and pretend they were doing something. If we stay in the European Economic Area, we've got to abide by most of the EU rules, but we won't have any representation in Parliament at all, and we'll have free movement. I mean, isn't that great? Free movement. You know, a day after the MI5 chief tells us that one terrorist attack has been stopped every month since the Westminster Bridge attacks. And yep, now they're telling us to keep free movement and keep bringing those people in. Amazing, isn't it? But there's a quote here. Mr. Miliband told the BBC that the UK must get real, saying that 60% of UK trade was under European aegis. Aegis. He means under EU protection. That's a word to mean that it's under control, under protection of the European Union, but he uses the word aegis. Here he is, stood in a factory in Essex, trying to do his best to look normal, look like a normal person. Oh, I'm just a working class bloke. Look at me. I'm working class. I'm interested in British jobs for British workers, blah, blah, blah. Aegis! What? Doesn't that just scream politician to you? You're trying to be normal and then you use language like, who is he talking to? Is he talking to his local club at the Oxford University? He's meant to be talking to normal people. Aegis! You can sit in a factory all you like and try and lecture the British public. But at the end of the day, we voted for Brexit. And what this screams to me is, it screams political opportunism. They see that Theresa May's struggling, they see that she's weak. And they're trying to take advantage of it. And I saw an amazing thing. Just look at this tweet from, I don't know who this is. Naive politicians fall for company PR exercise. I didn't even notice this the first time I looked at this. It's got this huge tilde advertising behind them, and they're literally stood in front of bags of rice. Oh, I mean, it's funny. It's terrible. It's terrible at the end of the day. They're backtracking on Brexit, or at least trying to force the government to backtrack on Brexit. But what absolute numpties. Honestly, David Miliband, piss off. If you want to see more from me and the rest of the Rebel team, remember to download our app on the Apple App Store and the Google Play Store, and like and subscribe.